Hi guys, welcome back to Around the Campfire with AmeriCamp. We have a very exciting special guest today. We have one of our amazing influencers, Harry. So we're just going to be having a little chat about Harry's experience at camp, some sort of top tips, some bit more information about sort of what Harry does and his experience sort of working with us as a brand ambassador as well. So we're just going to start off with, could you introduce yourself and let us know what camp you went to?
100%, yeah. So thanks for having me on, Eloise. This is like a fabulous opportunity just to like talk about camp. I absolutely love it. So yeah, my name's Harry, and I went to camp last year for the first time, going again for the second time this year for the 2024 season, which is so exciting.
Very exciting.
I went to Tyler Hill Camp, which is in Pennsylvania. So that was my camp.
Amazing. And how was your summer? What was your favourite part? Give me some highlights.
Oh my God. Do you know when people actually ask me this question when I came back home in September and they said, what happened? How was it? You'll know as well, Eloise, you just can't like pinpoint a certain moment of the summer.
100%, yeah.
It comes back in like installments in your head and you're like, oh, this happened then and that happened.
Yeah.
But I think it's not like one certain thing. I think as a collective, my favourite thing was just the friends that you meet when you're there. I mean,
100%.
I come from like the tiniest village in the northeast of England where there's just nothing happening and there's no like-minded people. And I was like, you know what, let's just do this, see what happens. And now I've met my best friend from Leeds. I have friends from Bristol. I'm flying down at the end of March to go see.
Amazing.
New Zealand, Australia, America, Mexico, like absolutely everywhere. So I think one main point is my favourite thing of the summer was just the friends.
Oh, 100%. Like that's the really big thing that I think a lot of people get really nervous about is it's like, oh my God, am I going to make friends? Like I am going out completely by myself, completely just like starting from zero. Like you don't know anyone. I remember it like really surprised me how quickly you like connect with people, and how like-minded everyone is at camp as well. Like I think there's a very special type of person that like goes and works at camp, and it means that you literally just click like that. It's just amazing. And obviously big bonus for traveling because you've got loads of people's houses you can stay at, so it's a win-win really. Well, yeah, obviously, as somebody who sort of did your first summer last year, I'm sure sort of the whole application process is still really, really fresh for you. So did you have any sort of specific expectations or ideas of what camp might be before you went out there? And did those sort of expectations change over the summer at all?
Yeah, I mean, it's such a good question as well because I feel like as a first-time counsellor, there's so many things going through your head and
100%.
you've, as much as social media is fantastic, I think you just can't have them preconceived notions in your head before you go. And the biggest advice I give to people is just really open yourself up and don't kind of like hold back on anything in your mind when you get there. Because last year before I went, I thought it's going to be so hard to make friends. I said, our camp's huge. I mean, we had 350 staff, but at the same time, it was massive. I just thought, I've never really been in an environment that's like so male dominated. Like, I'm going to be on boys' side all the time. Like, what's it going to be like? And then when I got to camp, like, as soon as I let myself go, because the first few days of orientation, I think everyone is super nervous. And I was second guessing myself. I went, God, is this actually the right thing for me? Like, should I actually continue the summer? And then I don't know if something just clicked and I thought, no, just get your guard down, open yourself up. And then that's when I actually started to really, really enjoy myself and make all the friends. So I think the one main thing I think is just don't think too much before you go.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I like very nearly like talked myself out of it because I think you have so many things going around your head. It's so different. And even those first couple of days, you're like jet lagged, which really doesn't help because you're so tired and you're like, I don't even know how to talk to people, I'm so tired. Obviously, like you do get a massive culture shock as well. Like I think it's something that a lot of people don't sort of expect because it's like the US and you see it on telly all the time and you're like, oh, this is gonna be like familiar, and it's so different. But I think that's like such great advice, is to just kind of go with it and just kind of let it take you, and that's how you're going to be able to sort of have the best time, which is absolutely amazing. And yeah, it is like totally normal to be really nervous before you go out there as well. It's something that I get asked quite a lot. It's like, oh, I'm really nervous, is that normal? And it's like 100%. I was so nervous before I went to camp, and then after like the first couple of days, you've forgotten how nervous you are, and before you know it, it's the end of camp and you're crying because you don't want to leave. So
I mean, the thing is, like, I feel like loads of people just don't give themselves enough credit for being nervous. Like, I think
100%.
we need to rationalise that we are from the UK. Most of the people who go to camp from the UK, and you're going over to rural Pennsylvania sometimes for 7 to 8 weeks with loads of people you don't know, with very little phone service, and it's like, yeah let yourself be nervous. Like, it's gonna happen.
And 100%, like, it's so far out of your comfort zone, and that's like the magic of it, is that you're doing something that is a bit scary, and it's a little bit like different and sort of completely out of that comfort zone, and sort of embracing that, yeah, for sure, is like the best way to sort of get the most out of it. I completely agree with that. So yeah, obviously kind of moving on from kind of your expectations onto then sort of like the hiring process. So what was it like for you sort of getting hired at your camp?
I mean, it was a super easy process. I think when people stress about hiring, I just think, let the agency do the job. Like, they are the experts in this scenario. Like, social media is fantastic, and I think a lot of people get set on going to certain camps that are really, really huge on social media. And
100%.
as much as I'm an advocate for my camp, and it's huge on social media, I don't want to like funnel people into that system. I want go explore what there is. There's you'll know, Eloise, there's probably like thousands of camps in America.
Absolutely. Like, us alone, like just as one sponsor, we work with like hundreds and hundreds of camps, like hundreds and hundreds. There are so many sort of out there.
So it's crazy. So I just think it's a really easy process, as long as you don't like hinder yourself doing it. As long as you go with the flow, sell yourself the best you can. I mean, I always say the interview with a camp is so much an interview for you as it is an interview for them, because they want the best staff, but then you're dedicating like 2 months of your life every single day. And I'm like, just do what you think's right, have that gut feeling, and then just go with it. But if anyone has any questions about kind of hiring and camps, like, agencies are just the best people to speak to, because you guys are the experts on it.
100%. Like, that's the thing, is my big thing is always kind of just like trust the system, like 100% trust the system, because you're gonna be put in touch with camps that we think are a good fit for you. And as well, a lot of the time, I think the point that you made about being sort of really dead set on one camp is really valuable as well, because obviously you're probably going to end up being surprised by the opportunities out there. You know, everyone's seen like The Parent Trap. Like, everybody has that like specific idea of what camp is, and camp is like that, but it's also so many other things. It's, you know, like big traditional camps, it's day camps, it's special needs camps, it's underprivileged camps. You know, there are so many different opportunities out there. And yeah, I definitely think sort of trust in the system, and then also, like you said, sort of trust in your gut. We get a lot of people who come along to sort of the camp fairs, or they might call in because they've got an offer from a camp and they're saying, I don't know what to do, like I don't know whether to accept the offer or to reject it. And I think that I've always been a big believer in just like the fact that your gut feeling just like speaks volumes. I always say to people, I'm like, well, how does it make you feel that you've got an offer from this camp? And immediately from their reaction, you just like know. So yeah, I definitely completely agree with that. And I also think as well, you know, like, the worst case scenario, you go to a camp that you're not expecting to go to, it's not a camp that you ever would have pictured yourself at, you're still going to have a great time, because it's camp, and camp is just the best place in the world, like, no matter where you go. So it's a win-win, really.
And I mean, I get loads of questions of people, like you said, who say, how do you know if a camp is right for you? And I say, I can't really give you advice on that, because it's something to do with, like, truly your inner self. Like, you'll just
100%.
know. It's so cliche to say you'll just know, but you genuinely do. If you feel like you can live and breathe that camp, then you know that that's the camp for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing that I always say as well is, the people that you interview with, like the people that work at the camp full time, they set the tone of what the camp is going to be like. So if you click with somebody, if you have a chat with someone from a camp and you get on really, really well, you know, that is the best sign that you can possibly get that you're going to go and you're going to love it. So yeah, definitely just sort of like trusting that gut instinct is probably like the best piece of advice maybe ever. So yeah, obviously sort of moving on from sort of getting hired to actually your time at camp. So as I'm sure listeners are aware by now, all camps have their own often strange and bizarre traditions. What was your favourite Tyler Hill tradition?
Oh my God. Like, honestly, such a good question. I feel like traditions at camp aren't actually spoken about enough. And it truly is like a world like that you just have never seen before, because some of the traditions are actually wild. Like, I think one of the traditions I love that is quite common, I would say, in camps is reveille on a morning. Obviously, the big trumpet sound that's like da-da-da-da-da, all that jazz to wake you up. But I don't know if this is the same at every camp, but we had to go out to the flag and watch the flag raise on a morning. But we had to put our hand on our heart, we had to take our hats off, and we had to tap to the beat on our heart of reveille every single morning. And it makes me laugh because the first like week or so I was looking around trying to do it, looking at returners and ex-campers being like, oh my God, I'm never going to get this. And now I can just do it without even hearing the sound because it's like ingrained as muscle memory. So I would say that's like one of the bigger ones. And then a little one that we had at Tyler Hill that is definitely unique to us is we had starfish values, which were like every Friday we would do each letter of starfish meant something. So it would be like starfish, sportsmanship, tolerance, appreciation, respect, and like so on and so on. And we would get awards every week for that specific letter. And we did a staff one, and you could actually win a fish, but it was like a toy, it was like a dog toy fish, and then you had to kiss the fish. And it's like what?
I love it. I literally love it.
And I just think back and I'm like, that was so normal to us counsellors, and we actually would have conversations the day before saying, oh my gosh, who do you think's going to kiss the fish tomorrow? And then you take yourself out of the situation, you're like, oh my God, this is not normal.
So you do have those moments of like madness at camp where you're kind of just like going with the flow. You're so like desensitized to how weird it is. And you'll have like a weird like out of body moment where you're like, this is really strange. Like, what are we doing?
So they were the two main ones. But I know that so many camps have different traditions. So it's so funny to like hear other people's perspectives as well.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I think as well, like for me at least, like the traditions at my camp that were the most special to me were ones like, you know, first thing in the morning, or when, you know, all of the camp come together to celebrate each other and to like be together and just have that moment, because obviously sort of during the day everyone's doing different things, you know, everybody split up into their different groups and into their cabins and stuff, and I think those moments where like everyone comes together, you get that real like camp spirit, that idea of like togetherness is like so special, and I think those traditions are like the best ones. But yeah, definitely the really bizarre ones as well, the ones where you're like trying to explain it to someone at home and they're like, I don't really get it, and it's like you don't have you have to be there, don't worry about it.
And it's kind of like you're in this like little elite club now as well. So like when you go to camp, you're like, my God, like only 350 people in the world know, like
oh absolutely, yeah, you feel like extra special, and it does like really help you like bond with people as well, like especially in the first couple of weeks, like getting used to these like really weird traditions and kind of experiencing that like initial like, oh God, what's going on, and then like a couple of weeks down the line you are into it. It's a really good way to bond with people as well, is sort of embracing the madness a little bit. Well, yeah, amazing. So obviously camp was a fantastic time for you, which we love to hear. Obviously it is a very special sort of 8 to 10 weeks, but then also you have the joys of the travel period afterwards as well. So did you go traveling after camp?
Yeah. I mean, I was dead set on going traveling, but straight off the jump, for like people listening for advice, I would just say do not plan after travels until you're actually at camp, because as bad as it sounds, if you make plans for post camp with people who you haven't met yet and you go to camp and you just don't vibe, you're like set on doing this exact itinerary. And it can be like such a hindrance sometimes. So I knew that I wanted to go traveling. I didn't really know where. And then I met my best friend at camp, and we did 18 days after camp, kind of just us two. But we met friends like along the way, and it was
Lovely.
it was lovely, just us two kind of traveling all the East Coast, all the West. So we did. This is a big mouthful. So we did New York, Miami, Tampa, Orlando, St. Pete's Beach. Then travelled over to the West, and we did San Fran, LA, and Vegas, and then back to New York, and then back home. So it was action-packed, but I'm just so happy that I've done it. Like, it's exactly what you need after camp as well, I feel. You're so exhausted, but at the same time, you feel so liberated that you're like, I can actually conquer the world. Like, I need to go travelling everywhere by myself. Like, I'm this new confident person. And it really is the best time to, if you want to go travelling, not even in the States, but if you want to go, like, to Asia, anything like that, after camp's like the best time to do it, because you've just found this newfound confidence. So that was my travels, and they were amazing.
Yeah, no, definitely, like that post camp glow where you literally feel like you could do like absolutely anything is like, definitely capitalize on that if you have the time to, because it is just the best thing in the world. I know a lot of people will go like from camp and then they'll go like backpacking in South America, or they might go up to Canada for a bit. And obviously, like you said as well, sort of going with the flow and sort of giving yourself as much freedom for that as possible, because you are kind of like a completely different person by the time you leave camp. Like, what you think you might want to do before camp will be completely different to what you want to do by the time you finished. So like allowing for that space to like grow and then sort of see where you're at the end and sort of go with the flow then is definitely like really valuable. I always say to people, like, obviously some people are like over planners. I used to be an over planner. I was terrified about just going with the flow of my travel period. I was like, but where am I going to stay? Where am I going? What am I going to do? And I actually think it's like, it was such a like life-changing thing for me to actually be like, you know what, I'm just gonna like sit back and chill and kind of just see where things take me. And I've definitely become a much more relaxed person since doing that. I can kind of just like sit back and see what's going on and kind of go with the flow a bit more.
I'm exactly the same. Like, the funny thing is, when I've come back in September, so many people have said that my whole personality has kind of just like shifted. Like, I'm obviously the same person, but they say I went to camp a boy and I've came back a man, and they said that I was a stress head before camp, and now I'm just so much more chilled. And it's funny that that happens, because camp is so full on and you don't expect to chill, but there's just a shift, isn't there? Like, when you return back home, you're like, oh my god, like, I am just so go with the flow and chill kind of person now. It's crazy.
Absolutely. Like, I think there's so much craziness at camp that like once you get home, like nothing will really faze you anymore. Everything is just like water off a duck's back. It's fine, it'll be all right. But yeah, just in terms of like the stuff that you learn at camp and sort of having that space to grow and build your confidence and build like leadership skills as well. You know, like I was never one to like stand up and like take the lead on things before I went to camp, and I came back and now I'm actually quite happy to stand up and be like, actually, I'm going to put in my opinion and I'm going to take the lead on this. I'm going to tell people what I need them to do. Because just like it builds your confidence in such crazy ways, and even like socially as well. Like, I used to be the sort of person that very much like stuck to my friends, and I'd like chat to people if I had to, but like I was very much sort of more of an introvert, whereas now I think going and like being in a place where you don't know anyone and you're sort of thrown into it, I can very much just like talk to anyone now. I mean, that's my job. I just like chat to everyone on the phone all day. Like, I will literally just chew anyone's ear off at this point. So yeah, definitely like completely agree that you do come back to camp like a new person, like definitely like a new and improved version of yourself. It sort of brings out all of those aspects of your personality that, you know, are already amazing and makes them even more amazing, which is such a fantastic thing.
Like, hopping on the back of that leadership like conversation there as well. I mean, I went to camp last year and I was a gymnastics specialist last year, and we didn't have a gymnastics director. Like, we didn't have a head of gymnastics last year. We were a team of, I think it was like 3 gymnast coaches, 1 ninja coach, which is Ninja Warrior. It's like a crazy spec.
That's so cool. What the hell?
cool. And then we had a cheerleading specialist who was a returner, but we didn't have like a head, so we all kind of were just really self-sufficient. And I was kind of confident, kind of leading to a certain extent, because I coached before. But as the summer went on and we had conversations about the following year, so 2024, I got approached by like the directors of camp, and they said, would you be happy being the head of gymnastics next year? So,
amazing.
I mean, it just shows that if you go into camp with like the oomph to do well, even if you don't have experience kind of being a leader, you can totally progress as well to leadership.
Oh, 100%. I think that's another thing that people don't necessarily like realize at camp, is that, you know, it can be like you know, one summer and you're done kind of experience, if that's what you want it to be. But, you know, it does open up so many doors, especially if you build like a great relationship with your camp, if you really sort of like throw yourself into it and sort of demonstrate that you are giving it your all. You can really like work your way up to sort of being actually quite high up at a camp. A lot of our camp directors are people from the UK who went over as camp counsellors through, you know, like programs like this, and they end up running the place and they've got green cards and they live there now. It does open up like such an amazing world sort of beyond just one summer. And I think like having that opportunity is amazing, and you just sort of go strength from strength, really sort of building from that, which is amazing to see as well. And very exciting for you that you get to be head of gymnastics.
Thank you. I'm so excited. Honestly, it's just 2024 is going to be the best year yet. Like, that's what we're going to all tell ourselves. Just cannot wait.
100%, like counting down the days. You're like, every day you wake up, it's like this many days till camp, this many days till camp.
And I mean, I know people who are going over to camp like the middle of April, and I'm like, oh my God, like what I would love to go that early just so I can get away from the UK. But I'm not going till like the 13th of June. So I'm like, you know what, it's fine. We'll just count down the days. It's like we're nearly there.
Yeah. Crossing it off on your calendar every morning when you get up, just slowly getting closer and closer. Yeah, it's at that time of year now as well where it is just like the big countdown. Like once the weather starts getting nicer, like it's proper sunny here, and it gives you that buzz for camp. It's like, it's going to be so much sunnier at camp. It's going to be gorgeous. Love it. Well, yeah, obviously, like absolutely amazing to hear that, you know, you've had an amazing time. It's something that you are doing again this year, which is fantastic. But I'm sure that sort of first year is still very, very fresh in your mind. So, you know, what would you say to somebody that is looking at doing AmeriCamp for the first time, going over to camp, might be feeling a bit nervous or sort of doesn't really know where to start? Any sort of top tips?
You know, like the biggest thing that I can tell anyone is just, it sounds so cliche, but you just like, you're not alone at all. Every thought that you'll have as a first-time counsellor is so valid, because thousands of people are feeling exactly the same way. I mean, every single year, even at my camp, we hire a lot of new staff. So like the turnaround, it's always going to be like new staff coming in, and that feeling of all these doubts in your head and the nerves, even after a few days of arriving at camp, it just dissolves like that. It's just, you're so at ease, and returners comfort you, directors help you, AmeriCamp helps. So, you know, even if you're nervous and there's some questions that you just don't think can get answered, I think AmeriCamp is such a good company just to pick up the phone or just drop them an email and just say, I'm feeling nervous about this. Could you maybe answer this? I'm a little bit scared about. And you guys answer like swiftly, like so positive. And it's the same with us as like brand ambassadors as well. Like we wouldn't be doing this job if we didn't love it so much. Like I obviously promoted work on summer camps before I even started being a brand ambassador for AmeriCamp, because I loved it that much. And I just think I love having people ask me questions who even are a little bit nervous, because I know that I can put them at ease, because they just need someone to kind of give them affirmations to say it's going to be okay. I've went through exactly the same thing.
Oh, 100%. And I think that's sort of the really nice thing about like AmeriCamp specifically, is we are like such a community at this point. Like everyone on the team, we've all been to camp, we all know exactly how it feels. You know, all of you guys, all of the influencers, brand ambassadors have all been to camp. You know exactly what it's like. You know every single thought that's sort of like going through people's heads before they head off there. So it's really nice to know that you're getting sort of advice and, you know, chatting to people who know exactly how you feel and have sort of been there themselves. And definitely, like, to echo what you said as well, returners are so valuable when you're sort of having those first couple of days and you're a little bit nervous, or even like halfway through camp, if you have a day where you're feeling a little bit homesick or something, just being able to talk to somebody who's like been there, done it, knows exactly how you're feeling. They are like such great supports to have out there. And yeah, again, we're always just at the other end of the phone. If anybody does ever need to like chat to anyone, pop us a call. I'm more than happy to like chat, help you out with anything it is that you need. So yeah, I definitely completely echo that, you know, you're not alone. And we always talk in like our orientations about sort of the different stages of like settling in at camp and sort of like cultural integration is, you know, you do go through a couple of days where you're like, what the hell am I doing? Like, what's going on? This is so like unlike anything I've ever done. I think so much of it is sort of riding that wave, and then you get a really like special sense of like accomplishment as well when sort of a couple of weeks down the line you think back and you've not even really like realized yet because you've been so like caught up in how much fun you're having, and you'll have a second to reflect and you're like, I've already come so far from where I was like 2 weeks ago when I was like terrified, had no idea what I was doing, like jet lagged, all of it. Like, and to sort of see yourself develop in such a short space of time as well, is it gives you a really special sense of like, yeah, I did that. That was really cool.
Yeah, and I mean, we did something in orientation that I don't think many camps might do, but even if they don't do, I think every counsellor should do this individually, like themselves. So we had to actually, I think it was maybe the second or third day during orientation, and we had to write ourselves a letter, and we wouldn't get it until, I think, halfway through the camp maybe. And I remember during orientation when I wrote the letter, this was when I was really just doubting the full process, and I had in the letter saying, I don't think I'm going to make friends. I don't know if this is for me. I'm finding it quite difficult, blah, blah, blah. And then when I opened it midway through camp, and I literally knew everyone's name, everyone knew me, all the kids knew me. I was already signing up to go next year. I was just looking at the letter and thinking, wow, like it's such an accomplishment. And I just 100%. Think it gives new people confidence as well, that even me, who's going back as the head of gymnastics, was feeling that doubt at the start in my first year. So 100%. I just think you've just got to go with the flow and just let yourself loose.
Oh, I absolutely love that idea as well. Like when I went to camp, I took like a journal with me, and I'm never one to like write loads in my journal, but I'd write just like a couple of sentences every night about sort of like how I was feeling, how my day was. I think that's such a valuable thing to be able to like look back on, and to really reflect. So yeah, that idea of the letter I think is absolutely amazing, just to sort of like show yourself how far you've come, because, you know, camp is amazing and it's so much fun and you will have an amazing time, but you are actually doing something like really amazing as well, to sort of put yourself out there like that, get out of your comfort zone. I think it's nice to be able to remind yourself how amazing what you're doing is, because it is just such a like brave, cool thing to do.
And it's only like 8 weeks of your life. If you don't want to go traveling after, you don't have to. So you like 100%. I think people forget that you do not have to do 30 days travelling and 30 days before. If you want to just go when camp starts and then get a flight home when camp ends, get your paycheck and whack it in your bank when you get home, you can do that. Like, we're not trying to force people to like go for years upon years and do all this travelling 100%. And spend all this money. So that's what some people do, and that fits people because they just want to have the experience. So that's like an option as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's like the thing that a lot of people don't realise as well, is that camp experience can be so different for everyone. You know, like even here in the office, we've got, you know, people who have worked at special needs camps who have then had completely different experiences to people that worked at traditional camps. We've got people that have maybe worked at like a YMCA and it's been, you know, like a smaller camp, a much more like intimate kind of camp experience. You know, there's such a wide range of different experiences that you can have, and like that's the beauty of it, and there's going to be something that fits everyone no matter what you're looking for or what you're looking to get out of it. You know, it's there for absolutely everyone, which is amazing as well. Well, yeah, it's been so lovely having a chat with you. Was there anything else that you wanted to say? Maybe a cheeky little self-promo perhaps?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think just the biggest thing I can tell people is just absolutely do it. It sounds, I keep saying cliche, and it really is, because it is just like the Parent Trap. It changes your life. You meet the bestest friends, and you genuinely just get the bug after. You just either want to keep going, or you want to go travelling, or you just want to try and find like a higher purpose in life. You don't want to be just sat in a job like wasting your life away. You just want to keep doing it. So I think if anybody has like any questions, by all means, like, my TikTok is always open. I love promoting AmeriCamp, summer camp, everything to do with travel. And my TikTok is Harry, which is just like Prince Harry, Harry, and then Linford. And then Linford, which is Linford, all one word, Harry Linford. So yes, thank you for having me, Eloise. It's been fantastic.
Thank you so much. It's been lovely having a chat. And thank you guys for tuning in.